Everybody, it's Russ Curtis. I just wanted to do a little brief video on flow, the concept of flow by Csikszentmihalyi, if I'm saying his name correctly. I believe I read this book around 1994, and it really transformed. It was a transformative thing for psychology for me. I'm in the counseling world. Let me make it clear, I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor, but in the psychology world, so much time had been spent on assessment and diagnosis and treating issues. And flow was one of those things that really highlighted for me that we should also be studying what we're doing when we're thriving, when we're fully present in the moment with something that is so engaging that we lose time. Either time speeds up and we're like, where did 2 hours go? Or it's so slow we feel very methodical and just into it. And the slowness is cool because you're not worrying about the past or regretting the past or worrying about the future. And so what he was studying is what are people doing when they're in that flow state. When you look at this graph, you see on our y-axis we have skill level. So our skill level from low to high. Then on the x-axis you see the difficulty of the task that we're taking on from low to high. So if we were engaged in an activity where we have very high skill level, but very low difficulty. So let's say folding the clothes or vacuuming your house or cutting the yard, which I just got through doing. I've been doing it since I was 12 years old. I've got good skills in those areas, and so doing it can be very boring, okay, because it's not very difficult, and I have high skill level. Now, people may not say I have high skill level with cutting the yard, but you know where I'm going with this. So you can think about it yourself. What are these things that you have to do that you do have high skill level? You've been doing it for so long, it's just second nature, but it's not very difficult, and that can lead to boredom. Okay. Now, one thing I think about in terms of particularly with positive psychotherapy is there a way to make this more challenging? Now, I'm not talking about standing on your head, but this could be maybe I'm going to fold clothes or I'm going to cut the yard more mindfully. I'm going to attempt to be more present in the moment. And that can add some challenge because it's so easy for our mind. Well, it's what our mind does. Part of mindfulness is recognizing what the mind does, and it flitters on and off, and it goes back to what you did last night and what's going to happen and what you need to be doing later. But what if I were to engage in a task that I might have high skill level in that's not very challenging, to do it mindfully, to actually increase the difficulty, that I'm actually going to wash dishes mindfully and not spin off and flit off in all these different directions our mind does. You know, the mind is kind of a monkey running around and doing its stuff. So what if I were to engage in these tasks? So that is a way to take a boring task and perhaps make it a little more challenging. But the other thing is if with let's say something I have very low skill level in, but it is very difficult. Say programming. If you were to ask me to write code, I don't know how to do that. Or if you'd ask me to create my own app. Now, these are things that are kind of interesting. I would have to get a lot of training. But if you were to ask me to do that right now, it would be incredibly difficult and I have very low skill level. So I'd be anxious. You know, if I knew that this was truly expected of me, I would be incredibly anxious because I don't have the skill level. So then we go to this flow channel, and that's the sweet spot. Okay, so this is the spot where we are totally engaged with what we're doing. And it's one of these situations when you're looking at, consider this with positive psychotherapy, to create lasting happiness. One of the things that we know that we can do that does that is gaining mastery. Well, in order to gain mastery, we have to try difficult stuff. So, for instance, in this flow channel, I might want to become better at drawing or painting, or I want to learn a song on the guitar, or to sing or dance better. This stuff is difficult, it's challenging, but I could say to myself, hey, wait a minute, it is difficult. I'm not going to do it perfectly. It will take some practice, but I feel like I've got this enough skill level to begin. And a lot of times that's our sweet spot, is that we engage in that activity and we feel better afterwards. Okay, maybe not always. You know, I know, for instance, like learning a song on guitar, I know that if I once I practice for about 10 minutes every day, within 7 days I get to where it's much easier. Maybe I'm a little slow on that, but it's much easier. But those first couple days are, I don't feel great about it. It's difficult. I feel like giving up. And as long as I don't, I know, and I've got enough history behind me to know. So that is that sweet spot that when we engage in these activities, we can increase our mastery. So I'd encourage you to think about that in terms of living to your highest potential. What are those things that you can engage in that might be kind of challenging and difficult, but would get you really engaged, where you lose time and you feel better about yourself afterwards? All right, I hope this is helpful. Leave comments, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Take care.